Access Module Number 1, Session 2, with creating a simple query, simple form, and a simple report. I'm in my ebook with creating a simple query. Query forms and reports are part of the objects inside of Microsoft Access. So what is a query? A query is when you ask your database a question, meaning who punched in today? Who didn't show up? What products do I need to ship today? Which orders don't have parts? These questions that you want to run every day, but you want your database to keep updating, but the question always stays the same. So you don't want to recreate that query each time. So a query is a saved question. Now, as you go through the ebook, and if you see the little arrow right there, I have put notes in here for you. Query is a saved question where a filter is something that you want a quick answer to and you don't save it. And we will do filters when we get into more advanced chapters of Access. All right, so I'm going to bounce back into our Lakewood file right here, and we have these two tables. I closed both of them, so they're just over here on the side. And then we go up to the menu and click on Create. So in Create, there's the objects tables, queries, forms, reports, and then macros. If you ever wondered what a macro is, macros are saved keystrokes. So it does the process for you when you trigger it, when you click on something and then it will run. We're going to be first here in the queries. So just like when we're in tables and you can create them in two different views, you can also create queries in two different views. But we're going to take the easy one for today, and that's the query wizard. So a wizard is a step-by-step screen and walks you through the process with guidance. So I'm going to click on creating a query, which one of these that we would like to do, and there's different wizards. We're going to go with the first one, which is a simple one. I'm going to hit OK. And then it asks us, which table do you want to create your question from? Now, here's the kicker, right? If I use my drop down, it's going to show all my existing objects. So you can create a query from more than one table. And with those tables, you can also connect it to other questions. So you can actually create a query off of a query, off of a query, off a couple of tables, and you can, as complex as your mind can get, Access can follow right along. But we're going to stick with an easy one today. So we're going to make sure that we are on, I think we're on the visit. I'm going to make sure we're on the visit table. And then it shows the available fields that are in the visit. This, again, is kind of like an old-fashioned screen. So I can bring over any field that I want to with the 1. I can bring them all back with the 2, or I could bring them all forward too with that one. So it's very nice to move things around, but if you screw up the order that you want them in, then you kind of have to bring them all back again. So we're going to bring over the visit ID and then the visit dates and then also the reason. So once we have these 3, we can click on Next. What do you want the title for this to be? So we're going to get rid of the word query with no space and then call it visit list. Now, 2 different ways you can view it. You can open it the way you would actually see it, or you can go into that other view, which is that design. We're going to just go ahead and open it and then click on finish. So these are not duplicate records. Please don't think of that. All of your records are always stored in your tables. The queries is when you run the saved question and it pulls the records just for when you view it. It's a temporary view. So there's those 86 again, and then we can manipulate them this way if we want to. So notice how we've expanded over here on the side. We have the object of tables with these 2. Now it shows the object of queries with how many more that we're going to have. All right, now I'm going to make this a little wider. And since I'm changing the structure, if I close it, it's going to ask me, do you want to save it? And I'm going to say yes. All right, let's go and take a look at, okay. let's get a little fancy with our query. So I'm going to double click so it works just like a table to open it. And then I can click on either any one of these that I want for the fields. I can go up to home and then we can do ascending or descending or the same thing with the reason if we want to, and very quickly move things around. Now, remember, it doesn't just sort and move around the one field, it takes the whole field with it. So there is 611, right? And March 30th. All right, I'm going to try this again. And I can see with the arrows, right, how I'm sorting things. All right, so 611 with March 30th. I'm going to go up to reason and go descending. Let's go find the 611. Can we find 611? Maybe we should do a find in there, right? What was it? 1611 in the current document. And there it is. See how it went from way up on top to down below, but it kept those three fields together because it is a record. The record has to sort going up or down. All right, I'm going to close this one and say no. All right. All right, let's try this again. We double click and we're in. If tables have two views, queries also have two views. So on the home menu in the view grouping, I'm going to hit my drop down and say, oh no, not just two views, there are three views, but I'm not going to scare you yet with this one. We're going to hold that one off, okay? Let's go to the design view. So instead of creating it the way that we did with the wizard, you can start right in here and add your tables, add your queries, and then you just kind of bring them all down and you plop them in here. Now we're going to do this in another, I believe it's in module number 3, so we really can understand the order and the sorting and then put the question in, which is the criteria. Next one we have, so let's go up to create. So we were in the objects of tables, queries, now we're in form. We can create forms in different ways too, but the easy way for today is going to be the wizard. So I click on the wizard and then we would like to make our form off of the visit table. So we need to use the drop down right here and find the table in here. It has these fields in the visit. We're going to bring them all over. All right, so what are we making? What is a form? So a form will only show one record at a time. It's supposed to be an easy to use data entry screen. So if you're the data operator and you're going to look at all 86 records at the same time and then trying to edit them, it's a little bit difficult. But if you only see or if you're talking to somebody on the phone, you only want to see like their medical record. So I'm going to hit next to keep going with the wizard. We have this nice little preview. So as we click on these different options, I'm going to select that first one for the column, hit next. What do we want the title to be? So we're going to call this visit data. Two different ways we can view it. So we're just going to view the form right away and then hit finish. So there's all the 86 records. I'm looking down at the bottom and I can arrow through these or I can use my tab key. And you can, or my human resource majors too, can think like, it would have a picture of that employee on the side and all their information. Or think of it's like it's a part table and then it would have a picture of the part right in here. So one record at a time. And yes, you can make changes. All right. Let me show you why, again, people stop using Access and get confused. So two different views of tables, three different views of queries. So let's go on the Home ribbon and do the drop down for Form View. Three different ways to use our form. Why? Well, the Form View is the easy view, but yet we can't make any format changes to it. So then we have the Design View. Yeah, see, this is why people change. But look at the ribbon up here, how it changed, and all these lovely things that you can do. Once you understand the layout of what is the label, what is the text box, and then how you can format things, it's not too bad. But since Microsoft realized this was a hard one to use, what they created was this middle view, the layout view. So it gives the orange boxes, and then you can do a little bit of formatting in here without seeing all that crazy detail. All right, so that's a simple form. I'm going to hit yes because I changed the layout. Over in our navigation pane, I'm using the shutter bar to open and close. See how it's expanded? And now we're going to do the simple report. So create. And then in the report grouping, we can create all these different ones. We're going to go to the report wizard. In the report wizard, we're going to drop down again for the visit table. I believe that's correct. We're going to go to the visit table. We're going to bring over the visit ID and the patient ID this time, and then the reason. Okay, I'm going to hit next. Now, this is where you can do some grouping if you want to do a grouping. So if I did reason and I brought it over, see all the reasons would be together and then that's kind of cool. It allows you to do that. I'm going to just bring it back. I want to show that to you. Hit next. You can sort things too if you want to. So we're going to sort things by our visit ID, ascending or descending. We can pick these different layouts. I'm going to pick the middle one for the tabular. Portrait or landscape sounds good. Hit my next. It's going to be called Visit Details. You can preview or you can modify. So then I'm going to hit Finish. So it lists again all these records, and truthfully, this is 3 pages of 86 records. So this is what we would rather print than a table. Because a table you can have, let's say 50,000 records. You wouldn't want to print that. You want to create the question to the table of what records you want to see, and then truly you would create a report off of that query. And then the report is where you can make it pretty and put the heading in it. All right, I'm going to close the print preview, and sure enough, I'm still in reports, but look at 4 different ways that you can view this, right? We have the report view, we have the print preview, we have the layout view, and then let me go to the layout view. So this is that in between one again where it tries to make it a little bit easier to format without going into that awful design view. All right, I'm going to close this one. It has a name. I can see that. I did make changes to the structure with the width, so I'm going to say yes. Whoops, I actually closed it all the way down, so I'm going to bring it right back up again. And I think I was in my Lakewood. There it is. I'm going to enable it. One more thing that we want to cover before I close the video down, and that is, let me go back to my ebook real quick and the table of contents. Way down at the bottom, we have backing. Oh, let's do this one, compacting and repairing a database. Microsoft Access realizes that things can get a little hairy with a lot of different objects, 32,000, and quite hugical data. Can I use that word? I just did. So it has this object of compacting, which rearranges things to make sure life is good, and it goes through what we call this disk space, and it just eliminates anything that it sees that shouldn't quite be there. Doesn't delete the data, it's the behind the scenes kind of work. So I'm going to go back to my database file and go back up to File. This gives me my backstage view, and then it's this nice little button for compact and repair. So I don't even feel it because it's not that large, but it did circle around and made sure that life is all good. All right, so that is the conclusion for module number 1, session number 2.